I don't want to point the fingers at people here, but the fact is that when you have an incident like this and you got people running out in the tarmac, you've got to have your people that are trained, that are out there in the tarmac, which are moving planes around and loading luggage. They need to be trained that in the event an incident like this happens, where to bring these people to. Direct them to a certain location, which is a safe location. It doesn't look like they did that here.
Well, let's ask someone who's actually standing on the tarmac right now. I understand I have Charmaine Yost, who is on the tarmac. Charmaine, it's Brooke. Can you hear me?
Hey, Brooke, I can hear you faintly.
Are you okay, first and foremost?
We are safe, but we landed in the middle of this absolutely surreal situation. I turned on my phone and had a breaking news headline, looked at it, and it said Fort Lauderdale Airport. And, when you fly a lot, it takes a minute to realize, wait, that's the airport that I'm landing in. So they had not said anything to us. After we landed, we discovered that some of the people had been connected to Wi-Fi and did know what had happened, but just absolutely horrific news that 5 people had died. And now looking out the window, we can see the hundreds of people lined up on the tarmac. Just a few minutes ago, flashing lights with an ambulance leaving. So, to be honest with you, everybody was very quickly tuning into CNN. So, we've been following your coverage to find out what's going on. All they've told us from the airline is that the airport is closed and that we'll be here indefinitely. So,
Charmaine, just hang tight. I appreciate you and everyone sitting on that plane, just watching the news. And I understand, as someone who flies a lot, you think, my goodness, that's the airport I'm actually flying into. Charmaine, thank you so much. I do want to read this tweet. This is from the Broward County Sheriff. Active search, unconfirmed reports of additional shots fired on airport property. Let me read that again. Active search, unconfirmed reports of additional shots fired on airport property. So that then could answer or start to answer some of our questions, right, Jonathan, on why people are running.
Well, exactly. But, there should be procedures in place. To Harry's point earlier, it's easy for us to comment from New York on a dynamic situation in Florida. But what we're seeing here is, people potentially running into danger. We don't know if that initial attack was a diversionary attack or if there could be secondary attacks coming in from the air side. You have mass amounts of people going out onto the tarmac. We're seeing everybody just kind of lingering along. I mean, to me, that could be a potential secondary target. That's something that law enforcement now has to be concerned with. Looking at best practices, I mean, there are lockdown procedures, there are shelter-in-place procedures that should be in place for dynamic situations like that, that are ongoing right now. And it appears that a lot of those things weren't followed.
Let me jump back to the airport. Jonathan, thank you so much. Jump back to the airport. Boris Sanchez is our correspondent there near where the shooting had taken place. Boris, what have you learned since we last talked?
Brooke, it is still a fluid situation. We have not been able to get speak to us here on the ground, but they appear to be done with the sweep of the parking garage that we were just showing you across from the runway. But as you look toward the runway, you can see the evacuations are still underway. There are hundreds of people right now walking across the tarmac and over to hangars that are on the other side of the airport. And there are still people here on the lower level that are huddled together. Just a few moments ago, there was a family here that I saw laying on the ground. They were still very frightened by what they had seen just a few moments ago. As you had mentioned, there was screaming and there were uniformed officers running with very large weapons. We didn't really know exactly what was going on. Things have appeared to have calmed down since then. And obviously, as you mentioned, there were reports of another unconfirmed shooting. It's unclear at this moment if that was just people panicking and running when they saw these officers being mobilized. But it was just chaos. We saw people running in all different directions. People didn't know where to go. I saw people hiding behind some columns thinking that things were happening behind them. Again, this all started at about 1 o'clock where in the baggage claim area of the Delta terminal here at Fort Lauderdale International Airport on the lower level, just close to where we are right now, there was a report of shots being fired. We confirmed that there were several casualties. At least 8 people were rushed to the hospital. And since then, it's been just a mess here. We know that the ATF is on the way if they're not already here. The Broward County Sheriff's Office is here in force. We have several of their helicopters in the air right now. But there's no real organization that I can see in terms of what's happening on the level that we are on. There were a couple people huddled together just outside of Terminal 2, again, the upper level of where that shooting happened. They were speaking to law enforcement, and then from one moment to the next, those officers started running across the way. The airport here forms a loop, and it appeared that they were running into a parking garage, perhaps to another terminal. At this point, we don't know. But Brooke, we know that the governor of Florida, Rick Scott, is on the way here later. He's going to be briefed. Hopefully we can get a clearer picture of exactly not only what happened here, but what is actually happening right now, because there is a lot of confusion on the ground with people that are stranded here at Fort Lauderdale International Airport. Brooke.
Stay with me, Boris. Just want to tell our viewers on the right side of the screen, these are live pictures. So Fort Lauderdale Police, we know Broward County Sheriff's Department is there. I saw FBI, we know ATF as well, all being dispatched to help. Joint effort. You see they've cordoned off at least this piece of the perimeter. Boris, do you see anyone else around you, any other family members just sitting there waiting at the airport for loved ones?
There's a family behind me. Let me ask them if they'd be willing to speak with us. Could you guys share what you're going through right now? They're not really interested in speaking to us, Brooke.
No worries.
Where I'm standing right now, most of the passengers are on the other side of us. I'm going to head over there and see if there's someone we can speak to, and we'll get back to you, Brooke.
Okay, perfect. We'd love to hear from some people. Boris, thank you so much. This is really where we are right now. We're just about the top of the hour. Let me just reset. If you are just joining us, whether you are on a plane and stuck on the tarmac there at Fort Lauderdale, or you're just watching, like the rest of us, watch this scene unfold. We know just about an hour or so ago, there was a shooting. A shooter that was just named by our Florida senator we just talked to, Bill Nelson, according to the head of the TSA, a man by the name of Esteban Santiago. Again, waiting on more confirmation on that. But in total, 5 people have been killed, 13 injured. They have been taken on stretchers to area hospitals. That's what we just heard from the mayor there of Broward County. This happened, from what we're understanding, in an unsecure area of the airport, either in the baggage claim area or the arrivals area. But an area where anyone could have access to that portion of the airport without those metal detectors and that kind of thing that you're so used to going through to get on a plane. The issue is why this happened. They're trying to get to the motive of that. At some point, we'll be able to talk to the suspect, the shooter, who is in custody, who is alive and in custody. He was shot in custody, and again, 5 dead. 13 injured, all of this unfolding at Fort Lauderdale. The interesting piece, though, is it wasn't just over after that. We've seen a bit of chaos and confusion as different, chunks of passengers, several hundreds at a time, would go in the airport and then sometime later rush out and go in and rush out. The Broward Sheriff's Department had tweeted a bit ago, active search, unconfirmed reports of additional shots fired on airport property. But again, we just talked to the mayor, who said to me it was her best understanding that there was one shooter and one shooter only. Let's begin this hour with Gary Grumbach, who is with me, a witness who was in nearby Terminal 3 at the time. Gary, you are live on CNN. Tell me what you saw and heard.
Hi there. Yes. So I was in Terminal 3. I was just got off my plane from Philadelphia, and I was headed down to Key Biscayne, where I am right now. I am no longer at the airport, but there was a lot of commotion going on. There was a ton of different types of law enforcement officers. There were armored vehicles. There were police from every agency, every agency I saw there. And it was really just a very scary scene. People were running. There was a few people crying. And at the time people were crying, I wasn't aware of what was going on. I thought the girl was just upset, but it turned out to be a much more serious situation. And they started bottlenecking people around the police started bottlenecking people around the terminal to get out of there. But luckily my ride came, and so I'm all safe and sound in Key Biscayne.
You were one of the lucky few who was able to get out of there. Gary, just quickly, did you say you did or you did not hear the pop, pop, pop of the gun?
I did not hear any pop, pop, popping, but I did see a lot of people running and a lot of people scared. Okay. And this was just as I was leaving the Terminal 3 baggage claim area on the upper level of the American Airlines area. And this happened, the incident allegedly happened, I think, in the baggage claim area of Terminal 2.
Yep,
so
that's correct.
I was a terminal away, but I did see a lot going on from afar.
Okay. Gary, I'm glad you're safe. Thank you so much for hopping on the phone with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.